Leading off our discussion tonight is Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts. She's the top Democrat on the Senate Banking Committee and a member of the Senate Finance Committee. Senator Warren, thank you very much. I know you have precious minutes with us tonight as you have to get back to the floor. I know you had an amendment on the floor. Tell us about it. Tell us about what is important in that amendment.
Right. So my amendment was about what the Republicans have done to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And let me just remind everyone, that's that little agency that has forced giant banks and giant finance companies to return more than $20 billion directly to 203 million people across this country, very popular. And the Republicans, they've actually taken a couple of cuts. They tried to zero out the budget for that agency, which would have meant, of course, that the agency would shut down. The parliamentarians said no, they couldn't do that. That's policy and not budget. But they did manage to persuade the parliamentarian that they could cut the budget, put a cap on the budget that cuts it about in half, just a little less than cutting it in half. And so I stood up and said, let's get rid of that cap. Let's just restore the funding for this little agency so that we have a cop on the beat to help protect everybody who has a credit card, a home mortgage, a payday loan, who uses Venmo, who has a checking account, for all of those financial transactions. Because when CFPB is not on the beat, the chairman of the Federal Reserve reminded us a couple of months ago, there's nobody at the federal level. So wanted that agency at full strength. Every single Republican voted against that and said, nope, let's basically slash it in half, see if we can sideline that watchdog just as much as the parliamentarian will let us. So that was the vote we did earlier that I was the lead on.
And Senator, I know this isn't your trade, but a year from now, if we were to reduce what those Senate Republicans, that vote, to a 30-second campaign ad against them, what would that Democratic Senate ad say they actually did in that vote?
Your Republican senator voted to make it easier for you to get cheated on your credit card. I don't even need the full 30 seconds.
Yeah, you don't.
You can run another one for mortgages. You can run another one for every single financial product. That's why that little agency is so popular. You know who doesn't like that agency? The Republicans and the giant banks that fund the Republicans. You know, the ones who lost the $20 billion that they had to give up when they got caught cheating people.
Senator, I saw Senator Ossoff had an amendment earlier in the day for a higher tax rate on incomes over $10 million. Incomes over $10 million, and every Republican voted against the possibility of a higher tax rate for incomes only over $10 million, which means it would apply only to the first dollar you earn above $10 million.
Yep, exactly right. Or let me give you another one. Lisa Blunt Rochester earlier today had an amendment that said, I get that you guys are cutting Medicaid, that you want to take away health care from 17 million Americans. But I tell you what, could we all just agree that we're not going to take Medicaid away from brand new babies and their mamas when they're in the hospital giving birth? Could we just do that? And every Republican voted no. We're going to remember those votes, and we're going to make sure the American people remember those votes.
Senator, I know as a member of the Finance Committee, you've had a particular attention on the tax side of this, including your history with the subject of trying to get some kind of taxation that is even slightly realistic on billionaires' income, billionaires' wealth. What is this bill, as of tonight, unamended so far by the Democrats, what does it mean for billionaires' income?
You know, this is the staggering part. The Republicans want to take away health care from about 17 million Americans. They want to cut food support for another 4 million Americans. And then they want to use that money to give tax giveaways to billionaires and billionaire corporations. Let me give you just one example on that. Meta, right? They kind of are doing okay, right? What this bill provides is that Meta, on the day that the bill gets signed into law, if it goes through as it is right now, Meta will get a check for $15 billion. That's billion with a B, for doing nothing from this point forward, just for being the golden Meta. And just to remind you, Lawrence, that's more money than the federal government spends in a year on child care for all of our babies. But Meta going to walk away with that $15 billion check. And that's why this bill is so unpopular, not just among Democrats, but among independents and Republicans. And that's why the Democrats' super secret plan here is just to make sure everybody knows the difference between Democrats and Republicans, to keep putting these amendments out there and making those Republicans vote on them.
Senator, in our breaking news coverage of the Senate floor right now, the current vote, as I believe you know, is a vote that says cannot cut food assistance for families with children under the age of 12, I believe. And we're going to see if every Republican indeed does, in this vote to cut food assistance with families of children under 12.
Right. You know, I think here, Lawrence, that the Republicans are just counting on Americans not paying attention. That, you know, somehow they'll get away with this. Or maybe it's what Mitch McConnell said last week at the Republican lunch, when a lot of Republicans were standing up and saying, dang, I'm hearing from people in my home state who are pretty unhappy about cutting medical care, cutting food support, and these big tax giveaways to the billionaires. And Mitch McConnell said, yeah, I know you're hearing from these folks, but they'll get over it. You know, I just think Mitch McConnell is wrong. I think that when we take away health care from mamas and babies, those mamas and babies don't get over it. I think when we take away the wheelchair and the home health aid from your neighbor who was in a car wreck and now has to count on those to be able to get around, he's not going to get over it. And I think when they take away nursing home care for about half of the seniors who live in nursing homes right now, 1 out of 4 nursing homes will probably close. I think that the seniors are not going to get over it. I think their families are not going to get over it. I think America is not going to get over it. This bill tonight is record-breaking. Biggest cuts to health care in American history. Biggest cuts to food health in American history. Biggest giveaway from working families, people working 2 and 3 jobs, to a handful of billionaires in American history. All of those, the American people are not going to get over it. And it's the job of the Democrats to make sure everybody knows the difference between the Democrats and Republicans and reminds them of it every single day from now until November 2026.
Senator, your point about Republicans assuming people aren't watching this, that is the very reason we have the live shot of the Senate floor up tonight. That's the very reason we have you here. We're hoping to have Senator Schumer here and others, because this needs the attention. If they can't watch it if we don't show it to them. They can't know about it if we don't deliver it to them. And so
you got that.
I greatly appreciate you, Senator, taking the time to help us deliver what is actually happening on the Senate floor.
Thank you, and thank you for covering it. I know it's not really sexy looking to watch a bunch of people wandering around, but it truly is the case that this is life and death for a lot of people around this country, and we need to get this right. We're going to stay here. We're going to vote all night. We're going to go as long as it takes to hold out for the people who need their health care and for the Americans who don't want to see the billionaires get a final takeover of this country. So thanks for doing this, Lawrence.
Thank you, Senator Elizabeth Warren.